So today we'll be discussing some things that are primarily related to steering wheels, which I know all of my followers love for the most part. I'm going to start off not with the super wheel, but rather with the steering wheel inside my SS1LE and the shift knob as well. Basically, I'm going to be showing you how to restore / maintain the microsuede, or Alcantara as people like to refer to it, inside these cars. Basically any Chevy or other vehicle that has this material. I'll show you the process that I use, and it should work across any one of them. I will also, after that, go through and show you guys what I've been doing with the super steering wheels. I know a lot of you are rearing to see more content with regard to steering wheel leather and carbon fiber, so we'll go over that at the end after I go through this. So if you're here for the super stuff, feel free to fast forward. If you're a 1LE guy or gal, or someone who just has, you know, Alcantara inside their vehicle, microsuede, etc., feel free to watch through from the beginning. So one of the biggest, and for me the oddest, complaints that I see about these 1LE cars is the Alcantara on the shift knob and the steering wheel. People say that it sucks, people say that it goes bad. By the way, I've said it before and it begs repeating. Alcantara is a brand of artificial suede. They're the most famous and the most high quality, so everyone refers to any artificial suede that they see as an Alcantara. What's in this car and most cars is actually not Alcantara brand fabric. If it were, who knows, maybe it might be more resistant. This is just a micro suede, microfiber, whatever. The point is, they all pretty much clean up the same way though, and they're not that bad if you understand that their requirements are different from basic leather and you take the proper steps to maintain them. So as you can see, my shift knob is a little bit matted in some areas. You can see some shininess. That's mostly just the oils from your hands and some dirt. I try not to put on lotion right before I get in the car, things of that nature, in order to minimize this. But over time, you're always going to get some of this, right? Looking at my steering wheel, I can see that there's some here in this area, obviously where the thumb rests are. You're always going to get a little bit of matting, but it's not the end of the world. There's a very simple way that you can clean this. So here are the things that you're going to need in order to get your microsuede clean. Here I have Sonax's Alcantara and upholstery cleaner. Again, I don't have any sponsors. I'm not being paid to promote these guys. Their product works. It does a fantastic job, so why not mention their name so you guys can get the exact same thing and get the same results. Right. Beyond that, I have a bristle brush. Don't get something with artificial bristles. This is like 100% horsehair. Boar hair is also a common one. Either way, something with a natural bristle that's not going to like be really harsh. And then a couple of microfiber towels. So this one is dry, this one is moist. And I mean literally just, I soaked this and then squeezed it out over the sink, and that's how moist it needs to be. You don't want this soaking wet, you don't want to soak these things. Alright, so what you're going to do is apply with the dry microfiber all of the Sonax in the areas where it's filthy. In very tough areas, you can come in with this brush and just gently work out the resisting fibers that don't want to come up, and then you pat it down with this moist microfiber towel. Get it nice and clean, soak the towel again, do it, you know, again until you see that filth is no longer transferring off onto this, and you'll know at that point that this is pretty much ready to go. It's going to look a little odd while it's wet, but I promise you once it's dry, it's going to look brand new again. Key thing to keep in mind is just don't add a lot of force rubbing this stuff out, especially not with the brush. You will wear this in a bad way if you do that. Just be gentle with it and it'll come out really, really nice. And honestly, at this point, I maybe do this once or twice a year, and for most of the time my car stays looking nice. Now, your mileage will obviously vary. I don't really sweat hardcore like that. My hands don't ever really get all sweaty. If you're one of those dudes that you shake people's hands and your hands are always sweaty, you might, you know, have to do this a lot more often. Who knows, maybe you get some driving gloves or whatever. Some of the guys switch all of this to leather. I think that kills the look and takes away from the uniqueness of the car, but whatever. You know, you can get standard SS shift knob and steering wheel, and you can do that if you feel the desire. Either way, you'll still end up doing leather cleaning work at some point if you'd like to maintain said leather. It just is a little bit more durable. Alright, so from this angle, you can clearly see how matted my shift knob is, especially on this side because I'm holding it like that. Let's back this up a little bit. First, you'll take your Sonax. You want to shake it up really well. Then I will go ahead and do this. So I'll just take first my moist towel and just moisten the areas that are ugly. Alright, then I will get the Sonax out and just go ahead and start applying that lightly. Alright. I'll apply this foam all over the place. Make sure that I'm thorough with that. Alright, and now all this stuff is wet with that. So, it says on the back to allow it to sit for 5 to 10 minutes and then wipe off released dirt with a clean and moist microfiber cloth, right? So, while we wait on this for 5 to 10 minutes, we'll work on the steering wheel. My steering wheel itself is not looking all that bad, especially as compared to the shift knob, but we'll go ahead and just do the whole thing so you guys see what I do. Let's get it moist as per the instructions. Just kind of rub it all down. Alright, again, lightly. Don't want to be rough on this stuff. It's not the strongest if you're aggressive with it. For some reason, especially if you're rubbing it and it's wet, it seems to just rough it up too much. Oops, there goes my nail. Alright, let's apply the Sonax. Especially focusing on those thumb rests and trying to keep it off my steering wheel controls. This stuff smells fantastic, by the way. If you've never smelled it, it's got a nice fresh scent, which is always a good thing in your interior. Helps to eat through some of that filth. Try to get front and back. And I'll just very gently take this brush. I know it's going to be tough around the thumb rest areas, so I'll just take this and give it a little bit of a light rubbing. Again, try not to overdo it. And just kind of look around your steering wheel for areas that didn't get sufficient coverage and make sure that it's all looking uniform as far as color, which will tell you that it's all wet down pretty evenly. If you do get some of this on your controls, plastic, etc., don't freak out. It kind of evaporates, so it's not really something to worry about. Alright, let's wait for the rest of the 5 minutes and we can go ahead and start working on cleaning up the shift knob. Alright, it's been about 5 minutes, so let's go ahead and just rub this stuff out with a moist towel. You can kind of see the microfiber got dirty where it touched it. Yeah, it's coming out a little bit cleaner there. Just changing what part of the microfiber I'm using. Just so whatever dirt there is, I'm not smearing back in. As always, be gentle. I can already kind of see the little hairs lifting back up, so it's getting nice and fuzzy. Yet again, it's not quite there yet, but definitely once it's dry, you'll see that it looks a lot nicer. Give it a little love with this. Kind of loosen up those bristles, little fibers. All right. Let's go work on the steering wheel. I'm going to soak my microfiber in water and drain it out again. Then I'll go ahead and work on the steering wheel. Alright, let's go ahead and moisten down the steering wheel. It's been about 5 minutes for it as well. Make sure to focus on the thumb rests. Really kind of loosen that up. And just lightly go back and forth like this. Just to kind of help get some of those little hairs up. Again, always changing up what part of the towel comes in contact with it. Alright, that's looking nice. Let's give it a little work with the brush. Nothing too heavy. I actually bought this for some suede and nubuck shoes I had when I was a kid. They were in style. If you went to a hood school, that is. They're called Buffalinos. They took over where Hush Puppies left off. Or rather, there's people that rocked Hush Puppies still. And then like Buffalinos were a thing. Very similar style of shoe. Maybe a little bit more modernized. So I've had this brush for many, many years, and I've been taking care of material that's like this. Granted, biological, actual suede and nubuck, but some of the procedures for cleaning and maintaining is fairly similar. You can maintain suede shoes, you can maintain suede steering wheels and shift knobs. Alright, so I'll go ahead and just let this stuff dry. You may want to just have your car door open for a bit. Anytime you wet anything inside your car, you run the risk of getting like moist, humid smells building up. That's just because that moisture will contribute to the growth of bacteria inside the surfaces that are wet. So you want to go ahead and just leave this open so that the car will air out, and that will keep you from getting any bad smells. You'll just have the nice smell of fresh Sonax. So I'll let that dry out, and I'll come back in a few and show you guys what the final product looks like. Alright, I've allowed the stuff to dry for a few minutes. It's still a little bit moist, but you can probably tell that the little hairs are starting to stand up. It's looking much better. So you can see, you can already brush it, right, and get directional markings. So it's in much better condition than it was before when it was all matted down and you couldn't do that. So I'm very happy to see that. Once this is completely dry, this is going to look absolutely perfect, brand new, and it's going to feel a lot better. So that's basically the process that you have to go through. It's, like I said, not the end of the world, not super complex, but just like anything else in life, it has its own specific maintenance requirements. You have to be familiar with what they are, and if you are, it can be a long-lasting, nice surface to work with. It does not have to be an issue. So just wanted to illustrate that so you guys can take a look. Again, steering wheel also still pretty wet, but drier than before, and as you can see, all the grease marks that were matting this down here are gone, and this is starting to fluff up. So once this is fully dry, I'll probably just give it a light brushing again, and you'll see that it's going to look pretty much brand new. Alright, at this point this is fully dry. See, it's nice and fluffy, smooth like it used to be. I don't have the matting here in the corners anymore. It's nice and clean. Feels good too. Feels pretty much like it did brand new. Let's go to the shift knob. Shift knob's looking pretty good. Happy with this. Sun's coming in from this angle, so making it look a little shinier, the reflections, but it's nice and soft and fuzzy feeling. It's not all like matted and slick like it was before. It's almost, you know, as it matted, it's almost as if it's starting to try to turn into smooth leather. And as a matter of fact, if it were actual suede, that's exactly what would happen, right? If you take actual suede and you wax it over with shoe wax, you'll end up not necessarily like the thicker suede, but like the softer, like nubuck, which is more of what this looks like. It basically turns into normal leather. I know that because I took some of the aforementioned Buffalino shoes that were made out of that, and I went ahead and added wax one time thinking it would just clean or restore it, and it turned into standard smooth leather. And then, you know, later on other shoes I would learn to use Sonax and things like that to properly clean them and not damage them. As you can see, it's all pretty much brand new again. Brush the suede in different directions, mess with the look, but it's all perfectly clean. So just to give you guys a brief update of where I've been with my steering wheel works for the past couple of weeks, I have been working on this sort of on and off because I have a lot of other projects and some life changes coming along. But here's where I'm at as far as this goes. I've gotten all of the leather fitted properly right on the passenger side of the wheel. So this here on the driver's side, if you will, is still not done. You can see leather's kind of loose here. I have to finish kind of cutting the edges and lining it up nicely, and then also up top, if you look here in the center of the rim, there's a little excess leather that I have to cut. But this is actually almost complete. Right, it's fitting very nicely, and this is going to give me a properly fitted piece of leather that I can use to wrap all of these other wheels that I have that are the same steering wheel basically. Now, if you're not too familiar with the Toyota 3-spoke steering wheels, these did come in quite a few variants, but it's overall pretty much the same steering wheel, right? It all plugs and chugs between all the Corollas, Celicas, etc. You know, general Toyotas of the era. The wheels are basically plug and play as far as the splines go. The electrical stuff might be a little different, specifically because certain years of cars in the 90s and 2000s might have had different style airbags. First, like single stage versus dual stage airbags, and also older gen single stage to later gen single stage, you'd have different connectors. So the connectors, you know, it's not plug and play as far as the electronics go. Now, another key difference is you had some that did have buttons in the front, which is the IS ones for the E-shift transmission. Most of these do not have that. Another thing to keep in mind is also that the airbag cover designs vary considerably. They're the ones in the Celica Corolla and I think the last gen MR2 are one design that has all the perforations on the leather and perforations on the airbag cover. Then there's the one that was in the Supra that's just smooth and has a raised circle in the center with the Toyota emblem. But beyond that, the key thing, especially if you're looking to leather wrap one, is to know whether your wheel was factory leather wrapped or not. And that's pretty easy. You get the wheel and it's either wrapped in leather or it's not. And the reason this matters is because the non-leather wrap wheels, for example this being one of them, were thicker in the rim than those that came leather wrapped from the factory. I'm assuming that they did that in order to compensate for the thickness of the leather. However, even with leather wrapped around one of the ones that came leather wrapped, they're not as chunky as these wheels that did come just without any leather. Another thing is, if you look at the ones that came leather wrapped from the factory, they don't have the nubs back here in the back for your fingers. They're just completely smooth. And I can actually show you guys that. So here's one that came directly out of a Supra, and here there are no nubs. Whereas here there are nubs. Kind of look like little teeth, right? That kind of helps you, you know, as you're turning the wheel, your fingers grip that. It's kind of nice. This doesn't have it. I will say that the rubber for the thicker padded wheels is a little bit softer. It's a little harder on the thinner wheel. But that's actually a nice feature, right? Because then you leather wrap this, you get a chunkier, more modern feeling steering wheel. You get the nubs that are nice for your fingers. And of course you get leather as the other wheels would have had. The difference is probably minor for most people. Most people probably won't notice or care. But just thought that I would illustrate that so you guys are aware of those differences. Here is the IS style airbag cover. This one I've painted this black and I had added a Toyota emblem in the center instead of the Lexus, but this is not the cover for this wheel. However, the Lexus cover does look exactly like the Supra one. Difference being that in the Supra one, this is not a removable emblem. The emblem itself is kind of cast into this material. Other than that, there is another one that has like looks pretty much like this, but then there's like a silver ring around this area, right? That's another one. And then obviously the Celica Corolla MR2 one that has all the perforations. This is more smoothed out, and then there's just a circle in the center with an aluminum Toyota emblem. But either way, they all fit pretty much the same. Shape of the wheel is essentially the same. Some just might be thicker or thinner. I will definitely be following that up with more details once I have this ready. I'll probably take this back off and, you know, unstitch it in the center and make a template of it so that I can wrap all the others, and I'll be showing you guys that process. And of course, once I have a good template there, I'll also be doing some more carbon fiber ones with leather wrapping on the sides. So you guys will get to see that. I'm gonna order a 2x2 12 style carbon fiber, which I think will look a lot more elegant and more commercial than the others. And with the experience that I have now in dealing with these steering wheels, it should be a lot easier to do than it was last time. I'll definitely be coming up with ways to standardize what I do and basically simplify the entire process so it becomes a lot more plug and play. I don't know that I'll be doing as much flat bottom stuff this time around. I might just do carbon up top, maybe some carbon on the bottom or sides and the more OEM style ones. There was actually a factory Toyota one that had carbon up here and carbon on either side of the central spoke on the bottom. So I might build a couple of those and maybe do a couple more flat bottoms, but realistically adding the flat bottom part is honestly like one of the hardest parts, because then you have to completely reshape this, sand it. I'm a lot better at it than I was now, and I can definitely make molds to make all of the shaping, you know, a lot simpler. But in general, I'll probably keep them round. Flat bottom is really cool. It's neat, and having it now in two cars, I can also tell you that the difference in your actual driving of the car and daily for the most part is nil. It definitely is supposed to give you an advantage if you're a taller driver and you have the wheel low. I guess it makes it easier getting in and out with tilt, telescoping steering wheels, and infinite seat adjustability nowadays. I don't know that it's as much of a necessity. I can definitely see we're in a race car where there's a roll bar and other things, but then you also just have a removable steering wheel. So I really think it's mostly for looks. It's a cool sort of gimmick, but I mean, I'll definitely build some. It's just not a necessity. Having had vehicles with both setups, it's nice, but it's not a necessary thing. So I'll probably be leaving most of these round, and we'll see. And if you guys like these, I'll definitely have them up for sale. So once I have them done, I'll place them up and I'll let you guys know where you can go to buy them. If you've enjoyed this video, you've enjoyed this kind of content, feel free to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you're notified when I post another video. If you have any comments, any feedback on how I can improve, feel free to leave that in the comments section. And as always, thank you guys for watching.